So I was saying, when you have to graph the function, step number one, draw the asymptotes. We have here x equals 0 vertical asymptote. We have y equal x plus 1 as an oblique asymptote. هاي أول شغلة بنعملها. So here we have x equals 0 as a vertical asymptote, which is the y-axis. Already we have it. And here is the x-axis, the origin O. The straight line D of equation y is equal to x plus 1. You know how to draw a straight line. Table, values of x, enough to have two values of x. Any two values of x, let's say 0, 3, any two values. With x equals 0, replace 0 plus 1 as 1, 3 plus 1, 4. Now you plot the point 0, 1, here is 0, 1, and 1, 1, and the point 3, 4, here 3, and here we have 4. So here is the point. Join these 2 points, draw the line. And usually the asymptotes, we draw it shaded, just to differentiate between the lines. مش انه عبره بس انه خلاص نميزهم هيدا اسمتوت نرسمه شيء. So here is line D, the oblique asymptote. Okay, طيب. Then to complete, you plot any particular point.
أستاذ عبد
نعم نعم سارة.
نرسم معك.
إيه أكيد بدك تفهموا الرسم. طيب. Now any particular point, as I said, the particular points here, maximum minimum, if you have maximum minimum, if you have any inflection point, if you have intersection between the curve and the line, any line, if you are studying relative positions, and if here we have, in this exercise we don't have intersection points between the curve and the line, but in case you have an intersection point, you have to plot it. Okay, so again, any local extrema, maximum minimum, any inflection point, here we don't have inflection point, no inflection point. Okay, if you have any point of intersection between curve and a particular line, if you have x-intercept, y-intercept. Okay, here the only points are the maximum and minimum. -2, -3. So you plot the point -2, -3. Here is -2, -3, 1, 1, 2, -3. So here is a local maximum. And we have 2, 5, I guess. 2, 5, the minimum. Here is 2, 5, 2, 5. So here is the minimum. Now, when you have to graph, when you have to graph the function or the curve, use this table. And then I'm going to show you a way, simpler way, not a simpler way, another way to graph the function. Here, the graph starts from the oblique asymptote, from negative infinity oblique asymptote, increases to the maximum, and then decreases to the vertical asymptote. So the graph, if this is the oblique asymptote, starts very close to the asymptote, and then to the maximum, and then decreases to the vertical. Here we have the vertical asymptote. Here we have the vertical asymptote. ليش هيك رسمته؟ ما هو whatever. Okay. So the graph starts from the oblique asymptote increases to the maximum and then decreases to the vertical asymptote. So starts from the oblique to the maximum and then decreases to the vertical asymptote. Okay. Here we have the maximum point. طبعا رسمتنا تكون أدق من هيك. مش عم بقدر ارسمها ورا يعني اكيد. Okay. But here
هيدي
is
على النيجاتيف
the graph
3
should not be above this maximum. The asymptote, the graph should be very close to the line. To remind you, if this is the asymptote, ما حدا يرسم لي اياها هيك. هي مش مقبول. ليه؟ Because this line is an oblique, is an asymptote. It means the graph should be very very close to the line. هيك بترسمها حد اللاين. Okay? بيحاسبوك عليها. And if, for example, you drew the line or the curve with a certain point of intersection and we don't have intersection, هيك بترسمها. And moreover, look at the relative positions between the curve and the line. Relative positions between the curve and the line. If x is less than 0, the curve is below the line. If x, like from negative infinity to 0, the curve is below the line. طلع. If x is less than 0, right, the curve, this red one, is below this line, the oblique asymptote. It is below the oblique asymptote. إذا رسمتنا لحد هلا صح. طيب شغله ثانيه، هذا الماكسيموم ما حدا يرسم لي اياه هيك، والله هذا اوبليك اسيمتوت. طيب هي شو بتصير هون؟ يعمل لي اياها هيك زاويه، شو بتصير؟ اذا رسمناها هيك شو معناتها؟ Yes. What can you say about this point?
انجل مثل كأنها انجل عاملة.
ايه angular point. اذا عندنا angular point بالجراف شو معناتها؟ The function is not differentiable at this point. The function is not differentiable at this point. وين اني؟ Derivatives, graphical interpretation. The graph has an angular point at the point of abscissa A in case the graph is not smooth. If in case you have angular point does not exist, the function is not differentiable. Right? So here be careful. While here the function is differentiable everywhere. Okay? Right. To continue, the second part. In the second part of the graph starts to decrease from positive infinity. يعني بتبلش من فوق من عند vertical asymptote. Decreases to the minimum and then increases to infinity, increases to the oblique asymptote. So the graph starts from infinity, vertical asymptote x equals 0, decreases to the minimum, and then increases to infinity close to the oblique asymptote. So the graph should be like this. كيف نرسمها هلا؟ The graph starts from here, decreases to the لا مش كتير ظابطة. هيك. Here is the minimum. Okay? And as you can see here, if x, the relative positions, if x is positive, when x is between 0 and infinity, the curve is above the line. The curve is above the line. And here is our graph. As you can see here, the curve is above the line. Okay? Is that clear? Hey. To give you a hint how to draw the graph. Okay. You have f of x. Of course, it helps you. F of x is equal to x plus 1 plus 4 over x. Okay? Let's say the case where x is positive, greater than 0. Okay? In order to draw the graph, plot several points on the curve. How to plot several points on the curve? Yeah, let's say find f of 1. F of 1 is equal to 6. F of 2, we already found f of 2, it is equal to 5. F of 3, 3 plus 1, 4. 4 over 3, 5.3. Let's say f of 4, 4 plus 1, 5 plus 1, 6. F of 5, 5 plus 1, 6, 6.8. And then here, plot the point 1, 6, the point 2, 5, the point 3, 5.3, 4, 6, 5, 6.8. Plot these points 1, 6, 1, 6. Hi. 2, 5 we already have. 3, 5.3. 3 and 5.3 تقريبا بتكون هون. 4, 6 here. يعني هاد before you draw the graph. فهمها؟ خلينا نمحيها نرجع نرسمها. Okay. Then 6 or 5, 6.8. Here we have 5, 6.8. يعني هي 6, 7, 6.8 تقريبا. Okay. Oh, yeah. لحظة. خربطت. 5, 6.8 somewhere here. بين شكل الجراف. Okay. Let's say a number between 0 and 1. Let's say f of 0.5. كمان إذا بدنا ناخذ بعد numbers. Of course you can't take f of 0. 0 is not in the domain. Okay. 0.5 it will be 8 plus 1, 9, 9.5. 9.5. So the point here is 0.5, 9.5. 0.5 is somewhere here. 9.5. Here we have 8, 9, 10. Well, 8, 9, 10. يعني اهو. اوكي. شايفين هود الدوتس؟ هو شكله للكيرف. بتساعدكم. اوكي. Join them. Join these points. قد ازعل. اوكي. كانت قبل احسن. اللي هو. Okay. Similarly for the negative values. The same idea for the negative values. Find f of -1, f of -2, f of -3. Plot the points, you'll get the curve. Okay. And here is.
بس عندي question قبل.
Hey. Yes, I'm بسمع.
انت بس نحن بس we need to plot the graph. يعني بناخد any numbers ونعمل replace فيها.
It will help you. It will help you. No need to do this. بس اللي هيك عم بلاقي صعوبة إنه كيف يرسمون. It helps you. ليه؟ Because here, if when you plot or when you take some values of x and find the values of y, okay, for each value of x you have one corresponding value of y, then you have a point on the graph. When you plot several points on the graph, then you can see the form of the graph, or you can see the graph. No need to do this because you already have our table of variations. Using the table of variations, you can draw the graph. No need to plot points. يعني انت بتقدر ترسم الجراف using بس هاي. اوكي. ما في داعي لانا بلش اخذ بوينتس. بس اللي عم يلاقي صعوبه انه هي using هاي table of variations في ياخذ مجموعه نقاط ويحطهم على الجراف. اوكي. على الكوردينيت سيستم ببينوا معه. بين الجراف عنده. اوكي. You got it?
استاذ طيب لو كان عندنا inflection point
لا جيد.
كيف كنا حطيناه؟
هلا شوف بالاكسرسايز اللي بعده. اوكي. هاي As you can see here is our graph. Here is the minimum 2 5. The minimum point is 2 5. لا زحليها شوي 2 5. ليش بدك شو تزيح؟ And we have another point here, -2, -3, the maximum. Okay, and here is our line, the oblique asymptote, and the vertical asymptote. شايفينه؟ هاي. Okay. Any questions? Any question?
لا
Ah,
it's easy I guess.
good. طيب, to move to this part. Discuss graphically the number of solutions of the equation x squared plus 1 minus m x plus 4 equals 0. X squared plus 1 minus m x. راح اكتبه هون. Part 9. X squared plus 1 minus m x شو كانت؟ plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 equal to 0. You have to discuss according to the values of m. You have to discuss according to the values of m the number of solutions. Discuss the number of solutions. Okay. To remind you, this is a quadratic equation. Quadratic equation with the parameter m. Well, in order to discuss the number of solutions of this equation.
حاطط screen.
نعم. ما اسمع. ما اسمع. Hello. Hello. ما بعرف شو كنت عم تحكي. طيب. Again, to discuss the number of solutions of this equation, back to chapter 2, what we studied about signs or of quadratic expressions, we used to discuss the number of solutions of this equation according to the sign of delta. We used to find delta is equal blah blah blah, and then you put values of m, delta, and then the sign. Okay, this equation has two solutions. In case delta is positive, the equation has one solution if delta is 0, and this equation has no solutions if delta is negative. That's what we used to study in chapter 2.
It says, are you speaking?
Yes, I am speaking. Can you hear me? I guess no. Reem?
ما بعرف I can't see any screen too. رح أعمل ليف وأرجع تجوين.
هذا اللي بدي أقول لك عنه. Yeah. طيب.
لأنه فكرتك بعدك ببارت 8.
اوكي. يلا يا ريم. No. So to discuss the number of solutions, as we said, we used to find delta and then study the sign of delta. But now in this question, discuss graphically. It means discuss from the graph the number of solutions of this equation. From this graph, I have to determine the number of solutions of this equation. العمى شو جاب هاي لهاي؟ هون نشوف قديش حلاوة functions. And using functions, I can solve this equation. Using the graph of the function, I can determine the number of solutions of this equation. شو خاص هاي بهاي؟ طيب. But you know how to solve graphically the number of solutions, or you know how to discuss graphically the number of solutions of f of x equal m. We used to discuss the number of solutions of the equation f of x equal m. إذا بتتذكر. It is you draw the horizontal line and you check the number of points of intersection between the curve and the line y equal m. Right? هذا اللي احنا تعلمناه.
أستاذ
نعم. Yes.
okay I can hear you
good.
بينت السكرين.
كنا نحن عم نسمعك بس انت ما كنت سامعتينا. طيب.
كنت
No.
سمعتني نعم but okay never mind.
ايه؟
فكرتك مش عم تسمعني بس لو ما كتبت نمبر 9 لاحظت حالي اني مش عم بسمعك. بلشت فيه وانا انه كنت بعدني مفكرتك بنمبر 8.
ماشي في شيء راح عليكي مش فهمتيه؟
نمبر 9 ما عرفت شو عملت في الكويست.
بعدنا ما
إنه ما
عملتش
كنت
كنت عم بشرح شغله برجع بعيدها انه here you have a quadratic equation with the parameter m. In chapter 2, in the second chapter we studied signs of quadratic expressions. We used to discuss the number of solutions of this equation according to the values of m. We used to find delta and then study the sign of delta. هذا اللي نحن كنا عم نعمل. طيب هلا نفس equation but the question here discuss graphically the number of solutions. It means using this graph I have to determine the number of solutions of this equation. شو العلاقة هيدي الجراف بهالايكويشن؟ طيب. In the previous chapter and the previous chapters we used to discuss graphically the number of solutions of the equation f of x equal m. f of x equal m. We used to draw a horizontal line and then we discuss according to this line the number of points of intersection between the horizontal line and the curve. The number of points of intersection will be the number of solutions. Okay? طيب. But here you have this equation. Solve for m. Solve for m. And we know f of x equal m. m is equal to something. Isolate m. Then you'll get x squared plus x minus mx plus 4 equals 0. Move mx to the right side. Then x squared plus x plus 4 is equal to mx. Divide by x. Then x squared over x plus x over x. Make it equal x. Make it equal x. Plus 4 over x is equal to m. Simplify this. Then x plus 1 plus 4 over x is equal to m. X squared over x, it is x. X over x is 1 and 4 over x. But this is f of x. This is f of x. So f of x equal m. So here we moved from this equation to f of x equal m. وهيدي لعبتنا. We know how to discuss the number of solutions of the equation f of x equal m. We know how to find it. We know how to discuss f of x equal m. Okay? You draw a horizontal line. You draw a horizontal line and check the number of solutions. If you draw this line here, now, for this horizontal line, how many solutions? For this horizontal line,
two.
because here we have 2 points of intersection 1 2 حتى نشتغلها هون.
2 ايه.
Yeah. خلينا ناخذ y is equal to m. Okay, m starts from negative 5 to 5. حتى نغير from negative 10 to 10.
يعني انت هيدا الايكويشن هن عاطينك اياها انت بس you solved it.
صح. ليك وبدي اكتبهم هلا هون لنعلمكم طريقه حتى ما تضيعوا فيهم. Yeah. Let's say here in this case Here, how many points of intersection we said? We have how many solutions? اللي أنا عم بشتغلوا هون, how many solutions? Hello?
two.
طيب.
Two.
And here the values of M. شو الvalues of M؟ من وين لوين؟ بدوش. عم بسأل. Values of M. Two solutions.
من negative infinity إلى negative 3.
Negative infinity, negative 3. We have two solutions. فإذا if M M less than negative 3, we have two solutions. صح؟ طيب بنكمل. If M is between, or if M is equal to negative 3, إذا كانت ال M equal negative 3, how many solutions?
One.
One solution. like one. فإذا if M is equal to negative 3, we will have one solution. أي بعد بنغير. If M is between negative 3 and 5, هون محل ما شايفين هيدا اللاين, how many solutions? عم
No
بسأل.
solutions.
ما في solution.
No solution. So here if M between negative 5 اوكي بدك تظبطنا اياها شوي انت and 3, we will have no solution, right? طيب what about if M is equal to negative